So it would appear as though, once again, the scam game publisher plot thickens, and you may or may not have seen my recent video on the scam game Web of Deceit, in which I took a deep dive into all of the scam game companies that I'm aware of and the ties that bind them, but in that video I detailed how several existing publishing names have been stolen, and that a couple of them can be directly linked back to Midnight Works. Well, now it seems as though it's not only publishing names that are being stolen, but also games themselves, as solo developer Steel Krill found out, much to their dismay, with the game in question being their game, the Backrooms 1988. Now, I was made aware of this through a recent email I received, which contained a link to a Reddit post on r/gamedev by Redditor Steel Krill titled "A big scam company just stole my whole game from Steam, ripped it and sold it as their own on PlayStation and other consoles." And I won't be reading this post verbatim, but I'll pretty much give you the TLDR on it as we go along. Basically, after several years of development, in 2022, Steel Krill Studio released the Backrooms 1998 on Steam, a found footage survival horror game which was then greenlit on Steam for a while Steel Krill worked hard to bring it to consoles, and it finally released in full in February 2025 for Steam, PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo Switch. Predating this release, however, is Backrooms Horror Escape from Cool Devs SRL, who dropped their game at the end of last year, and these guys are a well-known scam game publisher tied to one of the big two, that being Demency Games, and I'll clarify now that Demency Games are not linked to Midnight Works, with both Cool Devs and Demency operating under Dmitry Chetruska. Now, after discovering the existence of this copycat game through comments on one of his videos, Steel Krill looked into things and discovered that Cool Devs SRL had essentially ripped the entire game from Steam. And I don't know much about this kind of things, but they have essentially decompiled the source code to produce their own version and then released it onto consoles with some minor amendments, predominantly to the in-game text and anything which would tie it back to the original. Now, it's also worth noting that this is not a new practice for these companies, and having spoken to insiders at them, there are claims that they've got a previous history of doing this, with employees being tasked with downloading games from market stores, decompiling them to obtain the assets and scenes, and then rewriting the scripts before re-uploading the games under a new title, essentially publishing them as though they were their own creation. Now, in the Reddit post, Steel Krill stated that the stolen game used the exact same music, sound effects, voice lines and dialogue as his game, as well as a ton of different assets, and he went on to provide evidence to support his claims with a series of images showing a near identical main menu, tutorial page with identical text apart from a change to the game's title, near identical in-game text with some minor amendments, and side-by-side comparisons of in-game screenshots showing the same assets. Despite this though, there still appears to be some doubt amongst the commenters on the post as to whether Cool Devs are just using the same assets and have reconstructed them in the same way. And so, to rid any doubt of this, I decided to take things up a notch and perform my own investigation into the allegations and evidence. So, I started by comparing the trailer for Cool Dev's game with in-game footage taken from a playthrough of Steel Krill's game, and as you can see, I was pretty much able to recreate the Cool Dev's trailer one for one, though it appears as though Cool Devs have mirrored the perspective of the game for some reason. Now, this in itself would be enough evidence to convince most people, but to further expel any doubt that anyone might have, I then asked a data miner friend to do his thing and dig into the files used within Cool Dev's version of the game, and what he found should pretty much provide conclusive evidence to prove that this was indeed an exact rip of Steel Krill's game. Not only did he manage to identify a bunch of uniquely named assets that Steel Krill renamed themselves, but all of the key art files used in the game, including the wall sketches, all of which were drawn by Steel Krill. The data miner was also able to extract the audio files, which once again were confirmed by Steel Krill to be the same. And despite Cool Devs removing the scripts which stopped the intro videos playing, as was the case in Steel Krill's game, the video files themselves still remained in the game's data, videos that Steel Krill has confirmed to be their own home videos. Now, all of this evidence should prove without a shadow of a doubt that the two games are indeed identical, and that Cool Devs have illegally ripped Steel Krill's game from Steam, and then, like the cheeky little bastards they are, published it as their own. Steel Krill has already submitted a DMCA takedown request for the copycat, but as per usual, Nintendo are dragging their feet about it, so unlike that copy of The Last of Us, this one is likely to take some time, despite that game only resembling the source material rather than being an exact stolen copy. But it's clear that Nintendo value big developers more than small independent ones, which comes as no surprise to anyone. A final note on this one though is that Steel Krill was actually approached by what he called a very sketchy publisher last year wanting to publish his games on console, to which he declined, and this bears a striking resemblance to what happened with publisher eSale when they refused to let Midnight Works publish the games, with them now having had their publishing name stolen. And while Steel Krill wouldn't reveal the name of the publisher, there's no doubt in my mind that this is not just another coincidence. So with that being said, Cool Devs, it's over to you now, or should I say Dmitry Chetruska. Do you perhaps fancy explaining why your company is stealing games from independent developers and then repackaging them as their own? And Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft, do you think it about time you did something to combat this situation? The fact that you're allowing these publishers to continue to operate on your platforms despite all of the evidence pointing towards illegal activities is beyond me. But I have to admit, Cool Devs, you and the rest of these jokers are absolute morons, and you've done a shit job of hiding your tracks, and it's almost as though you think you're beyond the law and that nobody would ever take note of your actions or do anything about them. Well, this, my friends, is a call to action for anyone out there who cares that these corrupt publishers are not only ripping off consumers with the scam games, but are now also targeting legitimate publishers and developers, stealing both the publishing names and the games themselves, and it's simply not right, and neither the publishers nor the developers deserve to have these scumbags take credit for the hard work or the reputations tarnished by these money-grabbing bastards who only care about making a quick buck at the expense of others. If you do give a shit about all of this though, I implore you to share this video and my video on the web of deception, or alternatively, make your own videos on it or posts on social media. I'm happy to share any info that I have to get the word out, so just drop me an email or jump onto my Discord server, linked down in the description box below. That though is about it for this video. So I do hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, share the video and get the word out, because people deserve to know the truth. For now though, thanks to the patrons of the channel for their ongoing support, and to you the viewers for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and game on.